Jake here from Jake's History Expeditions. Join me as I visit some incredible World War II history, right here on the shores of America. I'll be exploring fortifications and watchtowers that helped protect America's coastline from German attack. And in between, I'll be hot tent camping and eating some good food. When the United States entered World War II, the German Navy, or Kriegsmarine, were already patrolling the waters of the Atlantic for 2 years. And over 20 years prior, during World War I, German U-boats were on America's front doorstep, having sunk thousands of Allied ships globally during the war, with some being sunk in American waters. When World War II broke out in Europe, the United States once again feared an enemy invasion and began fortifying the eastern coastline, with things such as harbor defenses, forts with large guns, and watchtowers to spot enemy vessels. In this video, I'm going to be visiting the remnants of these coastal defenses along the Delaware coast, in particular the defense of Fort Miles, which at the time of World War II was one of the most critical and heavily armed defenses in all of America. I'll begin my trip exploring Fire Control Tower 3 at Delaware Seashore State Park. Between 1939 and 1942, there were 15 of these fire control towers built on the coastline of Delaware and New Jersey to protect the mouth of the Delaware Bay from German attack. 11 of the 15 still stand today and are easily recognizable when you drive up the Delaware coastline. Tower 3 was the second tower to be restored, opening to the public in April of 2023. These towers were not meant to fire on enemy ships, but rather to spot them, triangulate their position using instruments such as this azimuth rangefinder that is on display in the Fort Miles Museum. Once the ship's position was found, the coordinates were relayed to the guns at nearby Fort Miles. Right there is Fire Control Tower 4. It's also a part of Delaware Seashore State Park. And it's a lot closer than I would have imagined that they would have had them back then. Got some amazing 360-degree views from up here, and I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there are a couple ships way out there, so even without binoculars, you can see really far. It's really amazing that these things are still standing and in such good condition, because when they were built, they were only meant to last 20 years, but here we are, 80 plus years later, and they're still here. Of course, they needed some work to be refurbished, but I don't know much about concrete, but it looks pretty good. They used to have to go up and down these ladders, which is a whole lot sketchier than using this spiral staircase. Today I think I'm going to spend the day visiting a few of these towers, and tomorrow I'll spend the day exploring Fort Miles, which is just steps away from my campsite tonight. The remainder of the towers that I'm going to be exploring today are going to be in Cape Henlopen, so I'm going to head down there now. These two towers off in the distance are Towers 5 and 6, and they are in Cape Henlopen State Park, near Gordon's Pond. Even this tower, which obviously has had little to no work done to it, looks in pretty good shape for being right here, literally on the beach. From what I read online, these towers are sometimes in the surf during high tide, so they're holding up extremely well for the conditions that they're in. They're definitely in a lot worse shape than Tower 3, but still, this concrete looks pretty good. I wonder what it looks like on the inside. That would be pretty interesting to see. These giant steel doors are the thing that's definitely in the worst shape on the whole tower. Easily one of my favorite beaches that I've ever been to, and it's not because of the beautiful surf and the beautiful sand, it's just because where else can you go to the beach and have remnants of World War II right behind you? this one is definitely a little bit more buried than Tower 5. I think this one is Tower 6, and that one's Tower 5. From what I understand, I think that they go numerically from south to north, and there are 11 left, and I think there are a couple left in New Jersey, so one day I'd like to get over there and see those. It's pretty cool. I was just saying at the other tower that I'd like to see what it looks like inside, and this tower had a little hole in the bricks, so I was able to stick my camera in there, and hopefully the footage is pretty good and isn't too dark. The exterior of this one looks like it's in even better shape than the other tower. If you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I put a short out about these towers about a month or two ago, and like I said in that video, I mean, these towers look so out of place. It looks like something you'd see in Europe, like on the beaches of Normandy or something, but you really don't expect to see this type of thing in Delaware, of all places. These towers were here because the mouth of the Delaware Bay was critical to defend, because it gave the important shipbuilding cities of Wilmington, Delaware, and Philadelphia access to the sea. To add additional fortifications, an underwater minefield was also strung out across the mouth of the bay. Some examples of these mines are on display at the Fort Miles Museum. From here I headed to the point, which is the northern tip of the Delaware side of the opening of the Delaware Bay. This is where Tower 9 is located, which has been repurposed and is being used as a ship reporting station. From the point, Cape May, New Jersey, on the other side of the mouth of the Delaware Bay, is easily visible on a clear day. Now it was time for me to head to my campsite and set up while I still had plenty of sunlight. Alright, this is the campsite for the night. Can't really see it, but literally right there is one of the towers. That's Tower 7, just in that direction. I think I should be the only one here tonight, really. I'm the only car in the whole tent camping area, so hopefully I do have it to myself. Before I set up the campsite, I'm actually going to walk over to Tower 7, which is one of the towers that you can climb up, just like Tower 3. But it's like 20 or 25 feet taller than Tower 3, so I've been up it before, and I filmed it for my short that I posted a couple months ago, but I'd like to get a little bit better footage this time. Tower 7 and Tower 3 are the only two towers of the 11 remaining towers that are open to the public to climb. The first observation deck. Here's Fort Miles right here. You can see the barracks and Battery 519. Just the opening of it. And over there way in the distance is Fire Tower 9 and Cape May, New Jersey. Luckily and unluckily, these towers did not see much action during the war. Luckily, because the Germans did not send ships to invade our coast, but unluckily because they did send some U-boats, which were virtually impossible to spot with these towers. In total, 18 ships were sunk by U-boats in this region during World War II. And in May of 1945, U-858 famously surrendered to Allied forces in the Delaware Bay. Alright, now to head back to the campsite to set up while I have some daylight left. If I have some time, I might let myself sneak over to Fort Miles just to check out the barracks area, because the battery and the museum actually aren't open until tomorrow, so I won't be able to see everything anyway, but there's like nobody here right now, so it'd be kind of cool to explore a little bit while I have it to myself. I put some sand around the lip of the tent just to help with the wind getting underneath of it. While I was setting it up, the tent kept on lifting on me and trying to fly away like a kite, so hopefully doing that makes it stay put for the night. Got my sleeping bag. It's covered in my cat's fur. She likes to lay on it, apparently. Alright, that's enough setup for now. I'm going to go check out a little bit of the barracks of Fort Miles. I'm not going to go too far into Fort Miles just because I want to save some for tomorrow, but I have a little bit of time before the sun goes down, so I'm going to see what I can see today. They have a sign here about potentially finding ordnance on the beach. I know I'm hungry because I thought that middle picture was fried chicken. It says here at one point the fort housed 2,300 soldiers and guns that could fire more than 25 miles out to sea. It also says it was the second largest minefield in the US, and it stretched between Cape May and Delaware, and they could turn the mines off electronically to allow friendly ships to pass. It's interesting that these are the only concrete block buildings of this type from World War II that are still standing today. Here's a map of the complex. Here are some 90mm guns. During World War II, Fort Miles had 3 batteries of 4 guns each of 90mm guns, capable of firing 24-pound shells roughly 12 miles and 20 rounds per minute. Just like the towers, these guns did not see action during the war, and luckily never had to fire on enemy ships on America's coast. Here at Fort Miles, these 3-inch guns predated and were eventually replaced by the 90mm guns.
It's cool, this one still has the seats on it. This one has grease on it, which is interesting. I wonder if they're just trying to stop it from rusting or something.
Getting into the big guns here, this is a 155mm gun, which was capable of firing a 125-pound shell over 10 miles.
Okay, I think it's time to head back to the campsite. I'm starting to lose a little bit of sunlight, and I'd like to finish things up and start making dinner before it gets too dark. Gonna get this fire going so I can make dinner. It's a little earlier than I usually eat dinner, but I'm hungry and tired, so I kind of like to call it a pretty early night tonight. Nothing super exciting for dinner today, just leftover fettuccine alfredo, but I'm gonna try to heat it up over the fire without burning anything. A little bit too much heat. Another beautiful sunset. All right, looks pretty good. Okay, time to get the fire started in here. A little bit of a chilly night. Well, now that it's warmed up in here, I think it's a good time to just relax and read my book of the week. I'm reading Band of Brothers, and as a history nerd, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I've never actually read the book, and I didn't even watch the series until a couple of years ago. But I'm gonna do that and eat my dessert for the night. Some fruit pastels. It's British candy, and my mom's side of the family's from England, so every Christmas we get a whole bunch of these, and I try to make them last as long as I can because I like them so much. Not that I couldn't just order some more offline anyway, but when I wake up in the morning, I'll do a quick cleanup, and then I'll go back over to Fort Miles, and we'll check out the rest of the park over there, and then I'll check out their museum. But I think I'm gonna make the museum a separate video. I'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning. Just having some coffee and orange for breakfast here. That was a pretty cold one last night. That sand really holds on to the cold, so I was feeling it from underneath. I didn't really bring enough insulation because I wasn't prepared for it to be this cold. I'm just gonna take my time cleaning up camp. I got pretty much everything else done this morning. I just gotta take the tent down, and then all that's left to do from there is go check out the rest of Fort Miles. All right, we're back at Fort Miles. Let's go see what else there is to see. All right, we're at where we left off yesterday. Looks like they have more of these 155mm guns. And here's an actual picture of one of them here at Fort Miles.
Here's an example of a 6-inch gun, which fired an 105-pound shell over 15 miles. Fort Miles had each of these types of guns positioned here at one point in time, but almost all of the guns that are on display here today were not the guns that were actually here, including this gun. But it is still very cool to see these massive guns in person.
And here's an 8-inch gun. They just keep getting bigger and bigger. Crazy that this thing could fire a 260-pound shell up to 20 miles. See the stamps here, 1906, 1933, and 1938. Over here is a display of an armor-piercing round that was used on the USS Missouri. And this is a test piece of metal that's 17.5 inches thick. That's amazing. Just a giant hole.
And my favorite thing in the park is Barrel 371 from the USS Missouri. On September 2nd, 1945, this gun witnessed the ending of World War II, when Japanese delegations signed surrender documents just a few yards away on the deck of the Missouri. Barrel 371 is a 16-inch gun. Fort Miles had two just like it, which were positioned inside of nearby batteries. This gun is absolutely massive. It's hard to capture its scale on video. But here's a picture of me standing beside it for scale. Well, that's all for this video. If you want to see inside of Battery 519 here on Fort Miles and see some cool World War II artifacts that they have on display in there, then be on the lookout for another video coming out next week or the week after. Thanks for watching.